And with that, the 2023 North America East individual competition for our final heat is underway. Kicking things off with a 3,000-meter echo bike into 3 sled pulls.
Of a total of 84 feet.
Total of 84 feet, 2,000-meter on the Assault Air Runner. 3 more hand-over-hand pulls at 84 feet, 1,000-meter ski erg, and then finishing with that 92-foot sled pull, 180 pounds on the sled itself. Welcome, everybody, to the Behind-the-Scenes podcast of individual event number 1. Chase Ingram and Adrian Conway bringing you guys the first action of the season here for the North American Semifinals. We have 2 this year. We had 4 last year. Starting out with a 3,000-meter bike, let's go through this heat sheet. Mr. Conway in lane number 1, Samantha Pugh. Lane number 2, Nicole Gibson Burke out of CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 3, Tori Dyson, CrossFit New England. Lane 4, Paige Semenza out of CrossFit Vertex. Lane number 5, Paige Powers, CrossFit Mayhem. Lane number 6, Sydney Wells out of CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 7, Amanda Barnhart, CrossFit High Gear. Lane 8, Alexis Raptis, Training Think Tank. Lane 9, Annika Greer, Peak 360 CrossFit. And lane number 10, Brooke Wells, CrossFit East Nashville. Lane 11, Emma Carey, CrossFit Naples. Lane 12, Emma Lawson, CrossFit PSC. Lane 13, Danielle Brandon, CrossFit Naples. Lane 14, Fisa Gaffi, CrossFit Naples. And lane 15, Caroline Stanley out of College Hill CrossFit. Lane 16, Jordan Sweck out of CrossFit Tuabor. Lane 17, McKenna Enslin, CrossFit Vertex. Lane 18, Shelby Neal, 12 State CrossFit. Lane 19, Lexi Neely, BD CrossFit. And lane 20, Ashley Giroux out of CrossFit Cornerstone. And Adrian, we've seen a lot of steady paces on the bike.
Yep.
Looking at this after 2 heats, this event has drastically changed from what we saw on paper that what happens on the competition floor. So when looking at this first bike, knowing we have a run, we've got a ski, but 3 of those sled pull lengths in the mix, how are you approaching this final, or this first 3,000-meter echo bike?
Yeah, I'm gonna approach it a lot like what we're seeing from these women right now. We've got cool, composed looks. People are trying to keep their heart rate down as best as they can so that to give themselves an opportunity to build into this test. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is spiking your heart rate early and fighting to recover amidst the chaos out there. With all the work that is laid out in front of them, it's important for them to understand the most anaerobic, which means the physically taxing part that's going to spike their heart rate, is actually the sled itself. So while, we sat down in these chairs earlier, we were like, wow, what an aerobic test this is.
Right, yeah.
And in fact, it is overall. But the sneaky part is that a lot of the response that's being elicited on the aerobic system's taking place with that darn sled because it blows up their musculature so much.
Now, when you talk about aerobic specifically, explain that for people when we talk about two different types of just energy expenditures when it comes to aerobic or anaerobic. So we're thinking aerobic. What is that really pertaining to?
Yeah, when we think about aerobic, we think about time domains that outlast 3 minutes and 30 seconds, right? When you think of the term anaerobic, without oxygen, you think about almost being able to hold your breath. Now, an anaerobic type of test doesn't demand that athletes actually do hold their breath, but when we think about the body from a physiological response, once we get outside of 330, man, everything out there is aerobic.
Hands in the air for a lot of our top athletes, and it looks like Emma Carey is the first off the bike in her first live competition since 2021. Obviously, last year during the quarterfinals, she withdrew from competition due to a back injury. Been training in Naples, Florida with 3 other athletes in this heat, or 2 other, including her. That would be 3. And the question is has she not only shored up that?
Emma's got a unique strategy here. She's literally using every inch of the floor she is allowed to before stepping onto the red tape line for the final round to keep the slack out of the rope.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of a vet-savvy move, right? She's got to worry about where the rope is less, and she's going to cross the line and then be able to turn and go.
Amanda Barnhart just made that sled look like it was empty.
Sydney Wells right behind her.
Amanda Barnhart, right side of your screen, already on her second length of the pole, followed by Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon. Brooke Wells is done. Annika Greer is done. Paige Powers. Paige Semenza. Amanda Barnhart.
Now watch her closely here, Chase. Watch Amanda. She came out hot. She's moving really fast. She's breaking all ready to get the chalk. And I'm going to tell you now, her pulls and the frequency of power that we saw early is not quite the same.
Yeah, Amanda Barnhart doing that kind of a switch stance, as we talked about earlier, that little of a split stance, almost pulling sideways.
And she's still making short work of this.
And Danielle Brandon actually looks like she may have caught up in that second length. Barnhart still leading.
Samantha Pugh right with her, neck and neck out there in lane one.
Samantha Pugh over in lane number 1 on her heel. So Amanda Barnhart's lead closing after that first pull length, followed by Barnhart, Carey, Lawson. Sydney Wells also on her second pull. Brooke Wells just getting done. Alexis Raptis. Annika Greer struggling a bit over in lane number 9 with this second pull.
Now listen, Chase, I don't use expletives very often. But when you're out on the competition floor and you reach this point in the test and you're like, oh, this sled is really heavy, you're like, oh, F. You need to look up, find your coach, take a deep breath and be like, okay, hey, I got this. Because there's a point of struggle that you reach really early, and it seems very obvious here, even on the body language, a lot of these competitors, that this sled is heavier than they may have anticipated.
At the Louisville CrossFit Semifinal.
Amanda Barnhart. Danielle Brandon.
Emma Carey.
So right side of your screen in the orange top, that's Danielle Brandon. Emma Carey, she's in the middle part, just to the right in that multicolored top. Brooke Wells in the green. To her left, those two athletes are in the middle. So we got this nice empty space. Right side is lanes 11 through 20. Left side is lanes 1 through 10. We've got Emma Carey to the right. To the right of her, you have Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon on the right side of your screen. If you go left to right to left in the middle, Brooke Wells sitting in the front part of your screen. Annika Greer behind her in the green shorts is still on her third sled pull. Alexis Raptis to her left and Amanda Barnhart. Right now, Amanda Barnhart is currently in the lead. She was to the runner first. But then when we look at running, right now we've gotten through the sled part. We've got off the bike. The bike was a pace to get to the sled. The sled, big part of this test. This run is the biggest time the athletes will spend on one singular movement in the overall test, which means if you have good running, this is your opportunity to either, race it out but don't hurt yourself as far as pacing.
Yeah, get the work done but be efficient. You know, again, a strong runner doesn't have to pull away here necessarily, but a strong runner on a good pace can conserve the total amount of energy needed on the back half of this test to get that ski pull done efficiently. You struggle with running and you're just suffering through this thing, boy, it makes the back half of this test very hard.
We've only had 4 athletes complete this test in the last 2 heats. This is the third and final heat. Your top women coming out of quarterfinals. As we're kicking off individual test number 1 for the North America East semifinal. Most of the times are right around, I mean, it's close, like 28 to 29 minute mark is what some of our best times have been. The time cap is 30 minutes.
So how many are going to finish in this heat, man? How many we got? What you thinking?
I'd say half. I'd say 10.
Yeah, I think that's a solid guess. I mean, the way they've been moving the sleds, I think, is a good hint that, man, minimally, hopefully we got about 6 or 7 athletes that are going to at least come across the finish line here.
If you look at your screen from left to right, you've got Amanda Barnhart. To the right of her in the maroon shorts, gray top is Alexis Raptis. Annika Greer, green shorts, black top. Brooke Wells just to her right in lane number 10 in the all green. Skip over to lane 11 to her right. You have Emma Carey, again, back in live competition. Great open, great quarterfinals. And honestly, a great athlete top to bottom. What she did in her first real individual competition outside of the team division. In online competition, her performance at the games, I think she was maybe 16, 17 years old in 2021. Obviously took off 2022 with a back injury last year. But then just to her right, in the long blue pants is Emma Lawson, who had one of the best rookie debuts and teen rookie debuts in the modern era.
Listen, man, she was
getting sixth place.
Rocking that jersey for a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Rocking the leader jersey as a 16-year-old at the CrossFit Games. Danielle Brandon to the right in the yellow top, black pants. These are really your main leaders. Samantha Pugh is in the mix. She's off screen.
Now, the interesting thing is we got Nicole Gibson-Burke and Tori Dyson still on their sled pulls. We talked earlier about moving mass, and that being an advantage for the bigger athletes. Neither of these athletes are the biggest in the field, and you wonder, does that put them at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to moving that weight across this floor? As we see Nicole Gibson-Burke in the maroon bottoms finally making her way back for her final pull within this first series.
We're looking for a hand in the air. And athletes are on a 200-meter assault run.
Body language here on the run tells a lot of a story, right? When we look at the athlete's posture, the way they're striking the platform of that runner, are they reaching and getting bigger strides, taking smaller, more conservative steps? What's their cycle rate look like? Emma Carey right now looks to be running at a clip that is slightly faster than a few of the other competitors. Now, it's hard to say because, of course, I'm sitting here on the other side of a platform and watching just the way their legs move. But from a stride perspective, and the way her foot is striking that runner, almost a bit more midfoot towards the back half of her shoe, it can allow her to pull the mat underneath her more.
Listening to the floor announcers, it looks like most of our top athletes are past the halfway mark. Brooke Wells just passed the 1,000-meter mark about 15 or 20 seconds ago. If you guys look at your screen, from left to right, you've got Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, and Danielle Brandon. And with the withdrawal of Mal O'Brien for the East, pretty much anyone in this middle 10 lanes, I think, has an opportunity to win this competition.
It's close. I'd say there's probably about 5 that could win it. But I can tell you right now that every single female on the field right now, all 20 of these women, or 19, all 20 of these women are definitely feeling like their opportunity to go to Madison is that much more closer with an absence of an athlete with such great capacity as Mal O'Brien.
2,000 meters on the air runner. We slowly approaching about 500 meters left to go. We've already started with a 3,000 meter echo bike, an 84-foot sled pull. Now, if you're just joining us, the sled pull is done in 3 lengths. So they'll pull down, back, and down.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this field, man, I'm like Danielle Brandon, Emma Lawson, Emma Carey, Brooke Wells. I mean, there are just so many. Even Alexis Raptis is in the conversation. And then, of course, you got Paige Powers. So, yeah, maybe there's 6 where I'd be like, yeah, they can all kind of slide in and get that first place.
These are lanes 1 through 10. Paige Semenza on the left. To her right, Paige Powers, Sydney Wells in the all black, Amanda Barnhart in the black and gray, Alexis Raptis, Annika Greer, and Brooke Wells. Those are your athletes in this frame from left to right. And we are looking like a hand in the air may go up
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you,
Anytime.
Brooke has hastened her pace. Now, there was something that happened. She stepped off the runner for a sec. I don't know what it was. I peeked up as she was getting back to work, but she might have tripped up because she is having more of a neutral gaze. She's looking out in front of her and not down at the monitor of her feet, but it looked like her pace has quickened tremendously. And I think that's what you want to see from an athlete in this situation, is that they've built into this run that has, of course, been so strategically placed right here in the middle of this test. Because you get on and you start going too fast, your pace is only going to diminish. But if you can build into this and allow your heart rate to settle, you can have great success on the back half.
And we said earlier is that this is a second half event, and Sydney Wells, judge, hand in the air. Sydney Wells training out of CrossFit Nashville East, or East Nashville CrossFit, along with her sister, Brooke Wells, twin sister, Brooke Wells. Has just really gotten back into the sport the last couple of years. Daniel Brandon, judge, hand in the air. Sydney Wells is off. And now we get into the second half of the test, Adrian, and we're talking aerobic, anaerobic. This isn't exactly lined in with the science, but first half, bike, pull, run, aerobic test. Back half of the test, pull, ski, pull, way more anaerobic for these athletes.
Yeah, it just feels that way, right? By all measures, you feel as though you're beginning to grasp for air and breath. So categorically, it's still very aerobic because they need that oxygen to keep going because they can't do it without it. But let me tell you something, they feel as though they're getting dipped in water, you know? Hey, no offense to our audio, but sometimes when it sounds like we're being dipped in the water, that's what it feels like to them out there, you know. In the middle of this test, as we still see Daniel Brandon make such quick work of that pool, and we look over at Sydney Wells still struggling there. Boy, that was fast.
Trying to give you guys the competition floor look. You guys don't want to see us talk. Daniel Brandon done with her first pull. Made up a lot of ground on Sydney Wells.
Yeah, made up a lot of ground. She's now probably got about a 10-second lead on her.
Daniel Brandon in the orange and black.
Chase, and to me, this is where the race can really be established in one if you're strong on the sled, because no one's going to really walk you down a ton in a 1K ski, right? You're not going to lose or gain a ton of time. You're just there moving. And if you can create a buffer, if Danielle Brandon can seize this opportunity and keep her momentum there with the sled, we could be looking at a distance that could be created here that others can't simply close the gap to recover from.
Danielle Brandon done with her second pull, moving to her third. Sydney Wells about halfway done with her second pull. Again, every 84-foot length for the first two sets of pulls will be done in 3 sections. And it looks like Sydney Wells' sled has actually gotten jammed up. So her sled, basically on a canvas, got folded up. So Danielle Brandon. And there's one thing with this sled is that this sled takes an element of, I don't know, what do you want to say? Nastiness? Grittiness?
Grit,
baby. Dog?
A little dog. A little dirty. Hey, we're in the dirty South. Come on, you gotta bring the dirty here.
I think that plays into a skill set Danielle Brandon has, is just the ability to get a little dirty under the hood when it comes to some of these grit movements.
Listen, man. From all accounts, I don't know Danielle very closely. She gives no Fs. Right? Just her being her to the top level, and I would imagine that grittiness carries into her competitive spirit. We've seen her even have run-ins with judges, right? Like, yo,
hey,
you give me that number.
Hey, we can all read lips.
What's the
saying?
Yeah,
we can all read lips.
And that type of personality is both a gift and a curse. And if she learns to harness it and really learn how to channel her energy and focus into her performance and not be detracted in any way from the external stuff, boy, that's a dangerous mindset to be able to bring in. And oh, by the way, she's pretty fit.
As athletes are working their way through these final pulls, it's really just Danielle Brandon alone on the ski erg. And Danielle Brandon is one of those athletes that has the ability to, we say, win the CrossFit Games based off her performance trajectory over the last couple of years. 2019 cut, 2020 top 10, about 13, 2021, working her way up. But she has been getting fourth last year. Who was in a podium position up and down throughout the weekend. Danielle Brandon, center part of your screen, working on the skier, finally joined by Sydney Wells. Emma Carey. Emma Carey just to her right. Emma Lawson now getting into the mix. We just passed the 20-minute mark. Just past the 20-minute mark. Danielle Brandon is ahead of any pace that we've seen so far. Usually we've seen about the 23-minute mark where most athletes were on the skiers. They look like they're minutes ahead of pace of our top times to beat. Only 4 women have actually completed this test in the first 2 heats. This is a third and final heat for the individual event or test number 1. We've got on the skiers, Danielle Brandon. To her right, Emma Lawson. Emma Carey behind her. Outside of screen, you have Sydney Wells and Amanda Barnhart. Just 5 of the 20 athletes in this heat on the skier. They have a 1,000-meter ski and following up with a 92-foot sled pull to the finish line. And we have seen a lot of lead changes happen on the sleds.
Yes.
But it's been Danielle Brandon that seems to be the most consistent so far.
Yeah, when we watch the way that she pulls the sled, it's about the same distance that she's covering with each pull, and that pays off tremendously when you look at over time how many this whole test accumulates to. We are waiting anxiously to see whose hand goes up first over here on these skiers.
Here's the ladies chasing Danielle Brandon. You have Alexis Raptis on your left. Behind her, to the right, Amanda Barnhart. And then Sydney Wells, who's actually to the skier before all 3 of them. She's behind, you can see Chuck Carswell, head judge here at the North America East semifinal. She had an early lead. She's been going back and forth with Danielle Brandon, mostly on the machines, though. As Danielle Brandon was first to the skier. So we are getting closer to the end of this 1,000-meter ski. And then as we were saying earlier, we have a 92-foot sled pull to the finish line.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to make some noise for Danielle.
Here we go. I didn't even see a hand go up. She just got off the skier.
Danielle Brandon off the skier. Right around the 23-minute mark. Some of our better times have been around the 27 to 28-minute mark.
And she's still making short work of that sled. Hinging, pulling, watch her drive her hips open if you guys are getting an opportunity to have a visual depiction of what Danielle Brandon has got going on. It's a great example of core to extremity where she's bracing in her midline. She uses the biggest muscles in her body through her hips and then pulls with her upper body and her arms. It's been a way that she's been able to conserve energy throughout this entire test for every pull.
First pull is done for Danielle Brandon. The first 2 pulls are the same length we've had for the last 2 sections of this pull in this test. The third pull is going to be a little bit longer to the finish line. You see Danielle Brandon center screen, orange top, gray pants.
Over a minute lead on anyone else.
As Danielle Brandon a minute ahead of the field, minutes ahead of the best time we've seen so far. So she can keep this pace. This looks like an event win to kick off the weekend for Danielle Brandon. 2 more lengths to go.
All right, now one thing I want you to watch her now, though. Look what's happening with her pull. So she has about a 50, we're at about a 1 minute and 15 second advantage here on Emma Carey as she elongates her rope. But, okay, Danielle's strokes have shortened dramatically.
Emma Carey, left side of your screen. Trying to finish or get her first pull started. You can see in the background you do have Danielle Brandon, so it's Emma Carey that has now moved herself into second place, as Sydney Wells is done with her 1K row. Amanda
Wells
Barnhart done with her 1K row. But as it looks right now, it is all Danielle Brandon. Emma Lawson, center part of your screen. Blue pants, blue top. She's off the ski erg. So as it stands right now, Danielle Brandon first place. Emma Carey in second. And then about a three-way tie between Sydney Wells, Amanda Barnhart, and Emma Lawson for that third place. Danielle Brandon on her last pull. Now she has to pull it all the way to the red stop mat.
We're getting a shot here at Danielle Brandon making her final pull.
Danielle Brandon about halfway done. We're at 20.
There's no doubt about it, Chase. After that ski, that grit, that dog that we talked about, you having to bring out, that is where it has to be on full swing here.
Is there any self-preservation what happens after this test with the rings? Or is it just get the win when you can get the win?
You got to get the win. Points matter. Hey, man, you know, one of the questions, if I was posed that by my athlete, I'd say, hey, do you want to go to the CrossFit Games or not? Every point, baby. We got to fight and scrap, fight and scrap. And you know what you got to do? All year long, you've got to prepare to recover so that you can give it your all every test.
Danielle Brandon just a couple of pulls away.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, she's going for one more big pull.
And Danielle Brandon will take test number 1 to kick off the weekend here, the 2023 North America East semifinal. As we scan the rest of the field, Emma Carey was in second place. But slowly catching up, you have Amanda Barnhart.
Yep, they're neck and neck at this point.
Even Emma Lawson is in the mix. Emma Carey just fell back.
Yeah, she's been dropping to the ground on almost every pull. But again, as long as she keeps those feet rooted through the floor, that's okay. She's going to make her way. You got to go. I know these girls got to feel each other's presence here. It's a race.
Emma Carey and Amanda Barnhart are now tied as they step onto the finishing mat. Barnhart's chalking up. Emma Carey slips back one more time. She has ceded a lot of ground to Amanda Barnhart.
I just watched Amanda Barnhart peek over their shoulder, too. She's like trying to figure out where Emma is in reference to her sled. How much time do I have? How much ground do I have to make up?
Amanda Barnhart in the front part of your screen in the black shorts, gray top. Slowly running down Emma Carey, who had about a 20-second lead going into this final pull.
They're neck and neck now. Amanda looks like she's overtaken the lead here.
Emma Carey continues to fall down.
Yeah, and right now, it's not that Amanda's pulling much further, but the frequency of her pulls is that much quicker.
Amanda Carey, bottom right part of your screen. Amanda Barnhart to your left. Emma Carey continuing to do a fallback technique, but bleeding time. Amanda Barnhart inching closer, now at the air runner. Emma Carey 5 feet away. But Amanda Barnhart looks like she'll get one pull. And Amanda Barnhart will take second in the test in this heat number 3.
Emma Lawson closing in on Emma Carey. Okay, Carey across the finish line.
Emma Carey, she's across the finish line. Sydney Wells now trying to make her pull across, and it looks like Emma Lawson.
Emma Lawson here, about 2 more pulls.
Emma Lawson top left, 1 more pull to get to the finish line. Sydney Wells to the right, she's trying to get a top 5 finish in her first debut here at the North America East semifinal.
1 minute left, man. Every rep's really got to count here for these ladies. Fisa Gaffi out there, not a test that is in her favor, perhaps, but she has to scrap for every repetition she can in a test like this.
Danielle Brandon took the heat, followed by Amanda Barnhart, Emma Carey, Emma Lawson, Sydney Wells on the left part of your screen in the all black.
You know, I'm surprised to see Paige Powers with a bit of struggle here on the sled. She'd have been one of my picks for this test to be towards the top.
25 seconds left before we hit that 30-minute cap. Sydney Wells looks like she's 2 pulls away. 1 more pull for Sydney Wells. A few of the athletes' time in the previous 2 heats.